Today is June 7th, 2022. My name is Joe Todd, and this is an interview with Martha Reyburn in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Ma'am, where were you born?
I was born in Conway, Arkansas.
And when's your birthday?
July 1st. Do you want the year?
Yes, ma'am.
1938.
1938.
More details, I was a preemie. I only weighed 2.5 pounds. See, I can't stop talking.
Yes. Who was your father?
Harley Oscar Weatherly.
Harley Oscar
Weatherly.
Weatherly.
Exactly, yes.
And your mother?
Edith Rhyne, R-H-Y-N-E, Weatherly.
R-H-Y-N-E. Okay. Did you go through school in Conway?
I went all through school in Conway.
You graduated what year?
1959 from college at Arkansas State Teachers College.
You graduated high school what year?
1956.
1956.
I finished college in 3 years and 2 summers.
Yep. Who was your favorite teacher?
My second grade teacher, Mrs. Moore.
Why was she your favorite?
She was loving, and I don't think she was really, really strict. She had us do things that we liked to do, but she didn't try to keep everybody in a box. I've always been against keeping people in a box.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay?
What type of work did your father do?
What?
What type of work did your father do?
Oh, he was a dentist.
Dentist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As a small child, what chores did you do around the house?
All of them. I dusted, I vacuumed, I mopped the floors. I helped in the flower garden. We didn't have a vegetable garden. I helped in the flower garden. I hung out the clothes to dry. I did just waxed the floors.
Mm-hmm.
Did everything.
Mm-hmm. In the summer when you were not in school, what did you do?
I was a lifeguard at the Conway Country Club, and I taught swimming and diving.
Okay.
And I played golf in the morning and taught and lifeguarded in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm. And where did you go to college again?
Arkansas State Teachers College.
In Conway?
In Conway.
Okay.
It's now University of Central Arkansas.
Okay, okay. And you studied?
Elementary education.
And you say you got your degree in 3 years?
3 years, and 2 summers.
In 2 summers.
And a correspondence course.
Okay. And you got your degree in 1959.
59.
After you got your degree, what did you do?
I went to airline training school, and I was a flight attendant, or they called it stewardess back then, for Delta Airlines. I flew for Delta Airlines as a stewardess until 1961.
So, tell me about being a stewardess. What type of training did you have as a stewardess?
Oh, it was a 6-week crash course, and we lived in a boarding house, and we'd go to class during the day, and then we'd study at night. We had to study and memorize and study and memorize and pass the tests, and it wasn't easy, but we did it. Some of the girls didn't make it, but we did. I did.
Where was this?
Atlanta.
Atlanta,
Georgia.
Okay, okay. What did the people in Atlanta think of you being from Arkansas?
Oh, everybody makes fun of people from Arkansas and the way they talk. But the Georgia accent wasn't too different, so I think I fit in pretty well.
I was going to ask, during the war, did you help with any of the scrap metal drives or rubber drives, paper drives?
Yes, I think I did. My mom was a gray lady for the Red Cross, and we did things through the Red Cross.
Now, what's a gray lady?
They did things for the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what all they did.
Okay.
They had on a gray uniform.
Okay.
I remember that. And a little hat, kind of like a nurse's hat.
Mm-hmm.
But she did that and was real active in that.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember VJ Day when the war ended? August 1945.
I don't know if I remember it personally or if I remember seeing it in the movies.
Okay.
I just remember a lot of yelling and screaming and cars honking. But let's see, how old would I have been there? 38. 6, is that my math? 6?
6 or 7.
7, I think I remember it personally, but on the radio.
Okay, okay. So, tell me about that being a stewardess for Delta.
Oh, wow. We had more fun. What I wanted to do is to see the world. So my roommate and I would work extra flights and jam them all together. And we'd work, say 21 days in a row. Then we'd get 6 days off. Then we'd do that again and get 12 days off. So we ended up one time with 21 days we got off because we had a vacation. And we went on vacation. We flew KLM to Europe and went to, 7 countries and 11 cities in 21 days. And we saw the Eiffel Tower. We went to the top of the Eiffel Tower. We saw the Mona Lisa. We saw the Statue of David. We had a cruise down the Rhine River. We went to Mount Pilatus in Switzerland and rode a cable car up to the top as it was snowing. In Rome, we looked out our hotel window and saw a parade, and it was Queen Elizabeth in a parade right down the street from our hotel. So we saw the parade. Didn't see her, but we saw the parade. Mm-hmm. And so many wonderful experiences. Oh, and I just loved to fly, meet people, had a ball, and it was just great. And till I met my future husband. And of course, back then you couldn't fly and be married. Mm-hmm. So I chose to be married. Mm-hmm. And then, I met him in May of 61, and we were married in December of 61.
Now, what was it like being a little girl from Conway traveling Europe?
Well, back then you could feel safe. I never felt afraid or anything. Maybe we were just ignorant. I don't know. But we just did it. Oh, but then that fall, we had a trip over to the Orient. We went to Tokyo, Hong Kong, Bangkok, and Honolulu, mm-hmm. and saw those cities mm-hmm. in, 21 days.
Yes.
So we were adventuresome. We loved it and never felt threatened. And it was just a great time. Yes. Good experiences.
Where'd you meet your husband?
He lived in the apartment building where I lived.
Okay. And you were married when?
In 1961, in December 22nd.
And where did you live after you were married?
Jackson, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
Lived there, and for about 6 or 8 months. And then he got transferred. He was a traveling salesman. And he got transferred to Kansas City, so we moved to Overland Park, Kansas. Mm-hmm. Lived there for about 6 or 8 months, and then we moved to Tulsa. And lived there until 1971. Then moved to Stillwater. And he decided that, we had 3 children by then. And he decided he was missing a lot of Little League games and activities with the kids. So he quit that job and went to work at Stillwater National Bank. Mm-hmm. And became a banker.
Oh, okay. Now, when did you come to Bartlesville?
Okay, I'll just kind of give you a little spiel about it.
Okay.
Bill was at Stillwater National Bank, and then he got cancer in 92, in the fall of 92, and died in February of 93. And he died, February of 93. Then I was a widow for 5 years. And I started to pray, and I'll put this on camera. I started to pray, Lord, if you want me to be by myself for the rest of my life, okay, I can do it. But if there's somebody I can have fun with, please send him my way, a nice Christian man. So it wasn't long after that until Tom Reyburn called out of the blue. And that was an answer to my prayer. And I still remember when he said, "Hello, Martha, this is Tom Reyburn. I don't know if you're seeing someone special or anything, but if not, would you be interested in going to a concert in Oklahoma City, a symphony concert. And I was speechless. I said, well, I would love that, but that weekend I have a plan to go visit my son in Topeka, Kansas. And he said, well, he always has a fallback plan, so how about going to a concert, a symphony concert in Tulsa? And I said, that'd be great. So, am I telling too much?
Oh, no.
Okay. You want me to tell all of this? So I went to visit my son and came back, and then I called Tom and I said, I just want to let you know I'm back in town, all safe and sound. And he said, well, why don't you come over for dinner tonight? Or Friday night. And I said, I would love to. So
Now, is this in Stillwater?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So Tom, of course, cooked a wonderful dinner. We had pheasant. He had, on the hi-fi, the record, Enya playing, and we had just had a wonderful time and just started having a great time together. We dated all summer, and he proposed Christmas Eve. I don't want to get into all of the details, but anyway, he proposed Christmas Eve, and we eloped March 13th, 1999, because he had 6 kids and I had 3 kids, and we couldn't have gotten them all together, so we just eloped.
Now, what was your first husband's name?
Bill, William E.
Okay.
William Edward.
What was his last name?
Brooks.
Brooks. Okay. And you moved to Bartlesville when?
Tom and I moved here when in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? Okay.
2016. Okay. Now, you were diagnosed with your eyesight is not. What happened?
Okay. We were living in Lake City, Colorado, at an altitude of 8,700 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting on the jury, and Tom was on the jury too. And all of a sudden, my right eye started getting dark, going from the right to the left. And I thought, something's not right. So it kept on getting darker and darker. So the next day we went to the optometrist in Gunnison, and she recognized a macular a detached retina.
Detached retina.
It was a detached retina. So the very next day we went on to Grand Junction to a retina specialist, and he did surgery. And that surgery, I had to stay flat on my back in a motel room for 10 days or so. And then we had to be so careful going back over the passes, or am I getting all of these mixed up? Anyway, not long after that, it redetached.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to go back and have it reattached again. And I'm getting things kind of mixed up about going back to Lake City. But one time going back, we had to go over the passes real fast because it affected my retina being reattached and didn't want it to blow out or whatever it might do. So Tom had to drive real fast over the passes to get us back
Now,
home.
what causes a detached retina?
We don't know.
How do they reattach a retina? What do they do?
I don't know. They do something with oil and something with a bubble, and I had both of them in my right eye.
Okay.
But when they did it, the macular ended up being crooked. So I can see just a little teeny thumbnail sliver out of my right eye, but it's at an angle.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me crazy, but when I can look a little bit, everything is sideways is at an angle.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you see a tree or a fence post, they're all angling out. And then, how many years later, was my left eye retina detached. I've forgotten how long it was. 6 years? About 6 years later, my left eye retina detached. And we went back to the doctor, but there's a new doctor in the same office with him, and we went to him. We weren't happy with the first doctor, but we went back to Grand Junction, and the second doctor said he was going to reattach it if he had to use barbed wire. So that we left, and he had a great sense of humor. And so they reattached that one. And up until I had surgery for a blocked intestine in May of 2020, I could see pretty well out of my left eye.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty well, I say. I could see a little bit out of my left eye. But now everything is just dark. I can see silhouettes out of my left eye.
Mm-hmm. How long did this take from the first detached retina until what you see today? How long did this take?
2016 until now.
Mm.
For
What, 5, 6
7
years?
years.
Yeah, 7 years.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Don't make me do
What?
that.
What, 6 years?
Uh-huh. Say 6.
14.
Oh, 14 years.
Oh, for my first attach? Oh, yeah.
Yes, 14 years. Is there anything new they can do for a detached retina?
We've consulted with 2 doctors, I guess maybe 3, counting the ones in Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
And they say there's nothing more that they can do for my sight or anything.
Okay. When the retina detaches, what happens? What does the retina do when it detaches?
It just gets dark.
Just gets dark.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but I also have macular degeneration and glaucoma.
Oh.
Yeah.
And so what treatment do you take now?
I take a lot of eye drops and vitamins. There's one eye vitamin that I take twice a day.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything in a horizon for detached retina that you know of? Any new treatments or anything?
Not that I know of. It'd take a miracle, I guess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But not that I know of, or the doctors know of. One doctor in Tulsa just kind of shook his head and almost had tears in his eyes, and he says, "I'm so sorry. There's nothing else I can do for you." So I said, "Okay."
Now, how do you get by now? When
With Tom, my right-hand man here, does everything for me.
okay,
I can do some things.
okay,
I can do my personal shower and
mm-hmm.
and stuff, and so many things I can't do. I can't paint. I used to teach art and watercolor and all. Mm-hmm. My color sense is gone. If I close one eye and squint, I can see something just a little bit like the size of a quarter or a half moon or something, and I can see to paint just a little bit, but I can't tell where my brush touches the watercolor or where the brush touches the paper, and I just can't tell where it is. Or the colors now, I can't tell the colors. I can tell if it's light or if it's dark. Mm-hmm. I can't tell if it's green or blue. I can't tell if it's yellow or orange. So I just, but I still do stuff.
Is there? They have all these transplants now. Is there any transplant they can do that you know of?
Not that I know of. Boy, if they had any, I would go for it in a heartbeat. I would say, do it, try it. I don't think it'd be any worse.
Yeah.
Well, it could be worse if I couldn't see light and dark. If everything was totally dark, that would be awful.
Yes.
That would be awful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you have no idea what causes detached retina.
Mm-hmm.
There's no.
No. Does anybody know? I don't know that anybody knows.
I don't know.
Well, in Lake City there were several of our friends who had detached retina, and I just thought, this this must be the altitude. But when I would say that, everybody would say, that's not right. It's not the altitude. Nobody would go for that. But usually you think that boxers had detached retinas because they had a blow to the head.
Yes.
Or a bump going back, or an accident or something worth a blow to your head. But a lot of people in Lake City had detached retinas for no reason. It was just out of the blue, just like mine.
Mm-hmm. How does the altitude affect you from Colorado down to here to Bartlesville? Does it affect you any way?
No, it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I got used to the altitude, and it wasn't that bad. It wasn't bad at all.
Okay. Now, why'd you move to Bartlesville?
We don't know. We'd never lived here. I'd never been here before. We'd lived in Stillwater, and I knew about Bartlesville. Tom had been to Bartlesville several times. He used to come up here for the Episcopal praise and something service at St. Luke's.
Mm-hmm.
So he would come up here, and I knew a little bit about Bartlesville, but I'd never been here before.
Mm-hmm.
But I looked online, and I saw that it had a wonderful art association, and it had a wonderful symphony. And so we just decided, instead of going back to Stillwater, we would come here. And we did, and found a house. The houses were so much cheaper here than they are in Colorado. We just couldn't believe it. So we were looking, wanting some land, and couldn't find any land. So we just bought this house in hopes of finding some land so that we could have horses. Tom and I both love horses. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to have some horses, but couldn't find land. And so we just ended up staying right here. Mm-hmm. And then we have our horses. We adopted Mustangs from the Bureau of Land Management. Mm-hmm. And I have 2 horses that we have been keeping out at the Bartlesville First Church, where we take care of their horses, mm-hmm. and our horses, and 3 little horses. So we have in our charge 8 horses that we take care of every day. Mm-hmm. And that's fun.
Yes. Okay.
I don't ride as wildly as I would have if I could see. I'm very careful.
Do you still ride?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I still ride.
Mm-hmm.
I still ride. Mainly in the round pen or up and down the road.
Okay.
I used to ride all over the property at First Church, but I just go up and down the road.
Now, did you have horses in Colorado?
Yes. Tom was in search and rescue, and he needed a horse so he could ride the horse and that he could trust in search and rescue. And I said, if you're getting a horse, I'm going to have a horse too. So we got me a horse. Mine was a little Morgan horse that was just his name Tink. He was a mess, but we had fun. And Tom used his horse for search and rescue. And then we rode him, had some wonderful, beautiful horseback rides. Mm-hmm. Among the aspen, we'd take a picnic and go ride down different roads and have picnics out there. And the horses were just more fun. We'd ride them up little hills and down and had a great time with our horses. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So Tom was in search and rescue.
Among many other things. He drove the ambulance. He drove the fire truck. What all else? He was in the plays. What do they call them? What do they call the plays? Tom?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? Okay. Yeah, did lots of interesting things. What else about?
Deputy Sheriff.
Oh, Deputy Sheriff, mainly. Yes, he was a Deputy Sheriff there. We have been very adventuresome. Mm-hmm. And we've been married 23 years and had some wonderful adventures.
Well, sounds like it.
And experiences.
Mm-hmm. Now, where do your children live?
Oh, boy, we have 8, 5, my 3. Okay, I have to count them up. I have 2 in Florida and 1 in Tulsa. And then Tom's children are in Idaho, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and in Longmont, Colorado, and Alexandria, Virginia, and where else?
Minneapolis,
Oh yeah, Minneapolis,
Boston.
and Boston. Yeah,
Anything else you want to talk about?
I can't think of any. I think we've covered my whole life pretty much.
What are you doing at First Church?
What do I do?
Yes.
Nothing. I just go to Aldersgate and enjoy Tom's classes.
Yeah.
Tom teaches
Mhm.
and enjoy his classes, and we are really fortunate to have Aldersgate people because they have just become such good friends.
Mhm.
And so that's what I do. Well, when we first moved here, I taught some art classes, but of course that has gone away.
Okay. Sounds like a detached retina can be very, very bad.
It's bad.
Yes.
That,
Yes.
along with glaucoma and macular degeneration, boy, you know, yeah, it's all bad.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, you know, Martha's just kind of going through the events, but to understand, Martha's education was a bachelor's in primary education, then a master's in art education. Martha was an art teacher for 20 years in the public system. She was art teacher of the year for Oklahoma for 9th grade art in 1999. She taught art in Lake City. She taught art here. She exhibited in as many as 5 different studios in Colorado. Everything you see here, well, there's some prints, but anything that's original, Martha printed, Martha painted, and has sold lots and lots of her art. She used to do beautiful ceramics, bowls and things. So for that was her whole life as far as professional abilities and efforts and things. Then to lose her sight is doubly difficult, to say the least. Yet people keep talking about what a great attitude she has, and she has this good personality, and she's so sweet, etc., which is very true. But to be able to have any kind of good attitude at all, going through what she's gone through, is the attitude is a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
No, I pray every morning that the Holy Spirit living in me, which I know is in me, will help me I sometimes say help me have a good attitude, and other days I'll say, well, make me have a good attitude. Because I'm not feeling it right now, so Holy Spirit, you got to make me have a good attitude.
So now would you consider yourself her caregiver?
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
definitely.
Yes.
I am primarily responsible for Martha's well-being in every way, shape, and form.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is my primary duty.
He does a good job.
Yeah. Tell me about search and rescue. What did you do in search and
Well,
rescue?
we had search and rescue. I was deputy director of search and rescue for Hinsdale County, Colorado.
For
Hinsdale
Hinsdale.
County, Colorado.
Mhm.
And Lake City, Hinsdale County was determined by National Geographic to be the most remote county in the United States, in the lower 48. And there were only 800 people lived there year-round in the whole county. And we had a 600,000 acre area in the middle of the county, that wilderness area, that attracted lots and lots of people, and we were big ATV country and so on and so forth. So in the summer we'd have 3,500 to 5,000 tourists up, mainly from Oklahoma and Texas. And they would come up there and just figure out one way after another to get hurt or lost or whatever. And so I was deputy director of that, and led all the horseback rescues, horseback mounted rescues. And then I was also the engineer on the Forest Service fire truck, and then also drove the ambulance. You have to do up there. Everybody has to. There's no tax base, so everything you normally pay somebody to do, volunteers have
It's
to do.
all volunteer.
And then I was deputy sheriff for 13 years, and part of that I was the Alpine Ranger. So for 4 years, my patrol was a 47-mile loop called the Alpine Loop, and it began and ended in Lake City and passed by or through Telluride, Ouray, and then Silverton. And it would take the average person 6 to 7 hours to drive that 47 miles. It was that kind of a road. It went from 9,000 foot to 14,000 foot elevation. And at that time, no radios, no telephone service of any kind. So, and I was a wilderness first responder, which is an EMT without an ambulance. And so I carried an 80-pound backpack with medical supplies. Mm-hmm. So I was it. I was law enforcement. I was Chamber of Commerce. I was medical. I just loved it. It was just wonderful. Mm-hmm. And so we did that. And then when I quit working full time, we couldn't stay. Too expensive to live there.
Yeah.
So that's why we moved here.
Okay.
And I was familiar with Bartlesville. Martha was not. And she's such a trusting lady that she said, "Oh yeah, you think it's all right with me."
How did you know about Bartlesville?
I had 2 or 3 experiences with Bartlesville. When I was in Stillwater, I was president of the First National Bank, and Don Doty up here, who was president of the what was then the First National Bank of Bartlesville, was a friend of mine, and we did work together in Oklahoma Bankers, and so I knew that and been through there. I also was a member at that time of the Episcopal Church in Stillwater, St. Andrews, and I would come over here once every couple of months for the prayer and praise service at night, and drive over here, and so I knew the people from that at St. Luke's here. And then I also had some political experience. That was back in the days that I was still a Democrat, and which was a long time ago. And I was in charge of 6 counties in this part of the state for George Nye in his re-election campaign. And thanks to George, we won all 6 of them. We won all 77 counties. So, and so I traveled through this area quite a bit during that time period. And so I always liked Bartlesville.
Yeah. Now, where were you born?
I was born in Tulsa.
Tulsa.
And grew up in Tulsa and in Cherokee County.
Yeah. Now, when's your birthday?
June 21st, 1943.
1943. Mm-hmm.
I'm a war baby.
Well, this is a very good interview. I'd like to thank you.
This has been fun.
Well,
You do well. You do
Yeah, you
well.
had good questions.
Well conducted. It really is. It really
Okay.
is. Seriously.
well, I want to thank you. And again, this is June 7th, 2022. My name is Joe Todd, and this has been an interview with Martha and Tom Reyburn in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. Thank you.
Yes.